Good morning, everyone. We are going to get started in just a second. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. First of all, welcome to the Fast Chat. We had a bit of a scheduling conflict, and so we had to be a little bit creative for the Fast Chat this morning. So we actually pre-recorded the Fast Chat, and so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. And right after we're done with the video, I'm going to pop back on and I'm going to take any questions that anyone may have, and then we will close out the call, okay? So I am going to share my screen right now and get that going. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Funded Fast Chat. I'm Rochelle Butler, Energy Manager with the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. I'm super excited to be back with another episode of the bonus Funded Fast Chat. Before we get moving, I just want to let everyone know that your microphones have been muted before joining the call. That's simply to minimize background noise. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and submit them using the chat box. We would love to hear your thoughts and your comments. And if you have any questions, we'll make time at the end of this presentation to address any of those questions. Next, I just want to give everyone a quick reminder to go ahead and connect with us. You can do so on any one of our many platforms. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Spotify, or you can just reach out the old-fashioned way via email or by telephone. As always, you can get a hold of any of our resources by going to our website. That's sjvcleanenergy.org. Again, that is sjvcleanenergy.org. And don't worry if you didn't get all that. We will send out all of the links, as well as a link to the recording of this Fast Chat, as well as links to any pertinent resources that we talk about during the chat this morning. So look for that in our follow-up email. Without any further ado, this morning we have once again our very special guest from the GK-12 team, Lou Jacobson. Lou, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Lou Jacobson. I'm the Senior Program Manager with Willdan, and as Rochelle just said, I am overseeing the government and K-12 energy efficiency program being implemented in PG&E service territory.
Awesome. So last month, Lou and I did a deep dive, well, as deep as you can in 20 minutes, but we took a deep dive look at the GK-12 offering for lighting solutions. And so if you missed last month, I encourage you to go back and take a look. But also, we did discuss GK-12 low and no cost lighting solutions for public sector customers. Public sector includes local governments, school districts, and special districts. So I highly encourage you to reach out if you're looking at doing any kind of lighting anytime in the near future. Rebates and incentives are available right now, and in some cases, there are lighting measures that are available completely free of material cost. As we all know, rebates and incentives are a moving topic, or a moving target, excuse me. And so, you know, if you are looking at doing that, I highly encourage you to move very quickly, because we don't know what those are going to look like for next year. So act right now. I can't stress that anymore. Act right now. Lou, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Our services will be there for you next year. We do expect our incentives to go down. So as Rochelle just said, there certainly is a sense of urgency. We want to do everything we possibly can to support you in reducing your utility costs. So if you have any questions, if you want to discuss, what we can provide, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Okay, so this morning what we have in store for you is we're going to actually discuss the other side of the program, so to speak. So we're going to talk about the comprehensive project. So the urgency isn't quite as dire because comprehensive projects have somewhat of a longer timeline. So we did cover lighting just because we wanted to make sure that anyone who was interested, we covered that first to make sure anyone that was interested would reach out to us and get those projects going as quickly as possible. However, if you are looking at doing a more comprehensive, holistic approach, those services are available. And a project like that would likely be assessed this year, but more likely installed next year, in the early part of next year. So Lou, can you give us like a general, I don't want to hold you tight to a timeline, but if I'm a local government, a new potential customer, and I'm looking at doing a holistic project, what could I kind of expect if I want to sign up for this year?
You know, great question. So the first thing is to get your application in early, right? So you can reach out to Rochelle, our team, go to our website, but we want to start that conversation with you early. The first and most important thing to acknowledge is we can't do everything for everyone. And so being able to have that conversation with you to talk through, you know, your interests and to qualify that our program is actually a good fit for you, something we'd want to start with. As you know, we're serving everybody in PG&E's territory. We'd want to get you queued up. You know, having that initial conversation might, you know, be scheduled out a couple weeks. Once we have the initial conversation, depending on your interests and whether or not we have services that would address your interests, you know, it may be another month before an engineer can really go out there and do the assessment. It really just depends on the demand within our queue and in our pipeline. But once we do that assessment, then we're going to actually crunch the numbers, which will take a little bit of time because we're talking about larger, more comprehensive and complex projects. We want to make sure we get the engineering right. So we're going to take a little bit of time there. Then we'll present it to you, see whether or not it fits your need. And if it fits your need, then we have to start engaging PG&E and the California Public Utilities Commission. And so all of that can take a little bit longer as well. As the incentive goes up, the utilities and the California Public Utilities Commission are going to look at the project closer, right? Everybody wants to make sure that the numbers are right and that the saving estimates hold water. And so as we move your project through the pipeline, there's several key milestones, right? And the very last one is getting it to PG&E and through the California Public Utilities Commission to have them say, yes, indeed, everything looks good to go. And in some cases, and again, it really varies on the scope, how big your project is, how complex it is, and the final incentive dollar amount, right? And so once we get to that point, which could take several months, then we need to start looking at the installation phase, right? Your public procurement requirements. How are you going to bring this to the market? And certainly we're right there with you. There's a lot of different options. But again, depending on your procurement requirements, we'd have to go through that process or at least work with you through that as well. So if we start working on a project right now, today, if you were to email me and say, let's do this, we have time to be able to get it into the summer or get it into your capital improvement plan so that you can go ahead and budget for it or at least look at it as a possibility for next fiscal year. For schools, of course, we want to be targeting the summer build season to minimize impact. But even on those, I want to be really transparent, right? Depending on the project, we'll talk to you about whether or not you know, you believe that this project should go through the Department of State architects, right, for review if it's not a non-exempt measure. So there's a lot of planning that needs to go in to be able to bring these big, complex energy-saving projects to completion. Our hope is that by starting some of them now, we can help you complete them next summer or even into the fall. But the reality is some of these might have a multi-year timeline. And so our contract goes till the end of 23. And of course, we're hopeful that it'll be extended, but that'll come down the road. So right now, not only are we looking at the summer build season of 22, but some of the projects you might have interest in will need to be planned right now so that we can actually get them through the full pipeline to installation in calendar year 23, likely fiscal year 22, 23, or fiscal year 23, 24.
Okay, awesome. Well, now that we have an idea of what to expect in terms of the timeline, Let's talk about, well, what I think is the most exciting part is the measures. Lou, can you give us like a brief overview of the measure opportunities that are available through the GK-12 program?
Sure. So the easy answer is we'll look at almost anything that's on the energy efficiency side. And in fact, we can even go a little beyond energy efficiency through our, this is a mouthful, our integrated demand side management services. And so we can talk about, controllers to make sure that you're using energy at the right time during the day. But the gist is that if it's an energy saving action, an energy efficiency action, we can do a lot out there. However, that doesn't help you, and I understand that. So there are, as you know, a number of different building systems. There's mechanicals or HVAC, there's water heating, there's building envelope, and there's lighting. And so really what we're going to do is that once we understand your interests, we'll be able to explore options at your site. Do you have a building automation system opportunity, an HVAC opportunity for ventilation, lighting perhaps, or more complex lighting with controls, air conditioning? Building envelope becomes a little bit more challenging, but we're not shy of having that conversation. And of course, water heating. And on that one, we're particularly excited to begin exploring electrification or fuel substitution. So those of you who have an interest in moving from natural gas to electricity for your hot water needs, we are currently exploring that. We expect to have an offering for that type of measure or action sometime next year.
Awesome. Okay, so next I would like to just think for a moment now. I'm imagining here, if I'm a new potential customer, I like to play roles. If I'm a new potential customer for the GK-12 program, and I'm thinking about reaching out to participate, but I'm not sure if my building would be a good fit for the program. So as I'm looking at my building portfolio, what types of things should I be looking for in terms of potential projects?
Well, if you called me directly and you were down there in the Fresno area or in the Valley, I would probably say you should reach out to San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Org. But joking aside, one of the things we would look at is potentially your energy use intensity, or how much energy per square foot are you using. We'd ask you questions about your lighting, what kind of technologies you're using. And if you really didn't know any of that, then what we would do is honestly just say, hey, look, perhaps it'd be worth having kind of a cursory site walk with one of our engineers. And we would come down there and we would walk through and just keep our eyes out for opportunity. Sometimes there will be opportunity out there that's not a good fit to our program. And in that case, we'd let you know, say, look, you might have a great project here that we just simply can't move through our program for one reason or the other. So it's always worth reaching out, even if you're not quite sure. We'll have a phone conversation with you. We'll walk you through some questions. Of course, you can work with San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Org as well, or other local government partners here in PG&E's territory to explore that before you engage us. But we're here to have that conversation with you as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lou. Now, I have one follow-up question for that. So if we say, for example, if I have a hypothetical project and my project includes both lighting and HVAC, and I know how much we have been just really trying to drive it home that, we want our customers to move very quickly on lighting, could I potentially move on the lighting portion of a project first and then do the rest of the more comprehensive measures later? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a program for all ratepayers in PG&E's territory. And so, our job is to help guide you. And so if your priority is lighting and you want to get that lighting done because there's a good offering right now, we'll certainly help you, then we can approach the HVAC down the road. Now, it really depends on what is financially viable and how you discuss, the projects, whether incrementally taken on or as one. So lighting typically has a pretty good return on investment. HVAC in some cases can, so I don't want to say it doesn't, but generally speaking, updating mechanicals can be expensive. And so there's one lens to look through where by packaging those two projects, it'll be easier to say, yes, fiscally, this makes sense. Because it does together. If you take them apart, you look at lighting is going to look good, where HVAC may not look as good. So as you're making this decision, you want to think about your decision-making processes within your organization project and say, look, we're going to do it in 2 phases, making sure, as you all know, that you all work through your procurement processes appropriately. But really for our program, you can do as many projects with us as you want, and we're going to be there to support you. So it really comes down to your timelines, your agency or government agency priorities, and how you'll move this forward in that decision-making process, and how you would present financials of a single project for that combined project.
Awesome. Okay, so you can do a little bit of piecemeal here and there. That sounds like the program has a lot of flexibility, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, well, finally, I just want to touch briefly. I mean, this wouldn't be the Fund It Fast Chat if we didn't talk about the financing component, right? And so I know that we did touch on this. The last time, I had you with us, Lou, but I would like to kind of reiterate that for those who maybe didn't catch the Fast Chat or are only tuning into this one. What financing opportunities would there be available to customers participating in the program?
Sure. So there's all the standard financing options that a government agency would normally be able to access. I'm not going to go through those outside of, let's say, a general fund or unrestricted ending balance. The core funding opportunities, right, are incentives right now, the rebates, and that's going to buy down the total installed cost. There's on-bill financing, which is a 0% solution through the utility for eligible measures. And then there's on-bill financing, not incentive. It's a highly technical phrase there, but truly it is what it is. So you're accessing the 0% financing through your utility, but there's no incentive tied to that. So it gives a little bit more flexibility on how you approach the project. So those are two through the utility. Now you can also go to the California Energy Commission and check the availability of their Energy Conservation Assistance Act 1% loans for public agencies and 0% loans for school districts, K-12. So those are low interest, no interest loans through the Energy Commission. So again, you can access loans, 0% loans through PG&E or your utility. Then you can do 1% or 0% through the California Energy Commission. So those are kind of the core or foundational financing products out there. There's a lot beyond that are out in the market, but I'm not going to touch on those because those are really the standards for the work that we're doing. And of course, there's other revenue streams out there right now for COVID response, for ventilation. There's 8841 coming through the Energy Commission for school districts. There's the ESSER funding that can be used for certain operational projects, but always say consult with your auditors before taking action there. And likely when we look to the future, there may be additional dollars opening up. That's a crystal ball activity, so I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lou. And I think that's all I have in terms of questions for you about the comprehensive project, through the GK-12 program. I want to thank you again for being with us this morning. It's always super fun to have you on the Fund It Fast Chat. Did you have any other thoughts or any last minute things you'd like to add before we go ahead and close it out?
Well, no, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'll look forward to my next visit. I hope everybody out there has a wonderful day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is the end of that portion of the presentation. I know we're a little bit over time, but I just want to make sure that if anyone has any questions, that you have an opportunity ask them. I don't see anything in the chat box, so if you think of anything, I'm gonna just go ahead and close it out. If you think of anything, go ahead and drop it in the chat box and I'll make sure to respond. But while you're working on that, I just wanted to remind everyone to share the fast chat with your friends and your colleagues. You never know how this information might help someone out or inspire ideas for new projects. And also look for our follow-up email after the call today. We will include a link to the recording of this fast chat for anyone that may have missed us this morning, as well as links to any other important resources. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and close this out. What's next for the Fund It Fast Chat? Our final 2 Fund It Fast Chats for the 2021 year. I can't believe I'm saying that, but the last 2 will be on November 9th and December 14th. And so we will be talking about the Small Community Drought Relief Program, and we will also be talking about the Equitable Community Revitalization Grants Program, respectively. So be sure that you join us for that. And in the meantime, I hope everyone has a great week. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks again.